On this episode of Audiobook Club, The Twist of a Knife, book number 4 of Anthony Horowitz's Hawthorne series, in which the author himself is one of the main characters. But he doesn't always portray himself in the most favourable of lights.
I'm sorry, Hawthorne, but the answer's no. Our deal is over. I hated arguing with Hawthorne. It wasn't just that I invariably lost. He managed to make me feel bad about even trying to win. Those murky brown eyes of his could be quite ferocious when he was on the attack, but the moment I challenged him, they would suddenly become hurt and defensive, and I would find myself backtracking and apologising, even though I was quite sure I was right. I've said this before, but there was something childlike about his moods. I never really knew where I was with him, which made it almost impossible to write about him, and that, as it happened, was exactly what we were discussing now.
Hello, I'm Steve Phillips and welcome to another episode of Audiobook Club, a podcast about audiobooks that believes in the healing power of ground rhinoceros horn. On this episode, we'll be reviewing The Twist of a Knife, book number 4 of Anthony Horowitz's Hawthorne series of whodunnits. Joining me down the line from Adelaide in Australia to help me with this task is the closest thing that we have here at Audiobook Club to a pet gerbil. It's Matt Layton.
Hello, Steve.
The views of the script are not necessarily reflective of the views of the presenter there, by the way. You're not a pet gerbil. I mean, frankly, I don't think you'd like the seeds. Is it seeds they eat? I don't know where I've gone with that one.
I don't know. As long as you change my newspaper once a week, Steve, I don't mind.
Wasn't expecting that one. That was funny.
So listen, I think we should reveal this for early adopters. So we'll not do this as we go on. But what happens with this is I write the scripts and you have a supernatural ability to be able to, because you're an incredibly professional broadcaster and much better than I will ever be, to read a script that you've never seen before and put the relevant expression into it somehow. I don't know how you do it. So what I've started doing, because we can't claim to be the only audiobook review podcast in the world anymore.
We're not even the only podcast with the same title anymore.
We've got a hashtag. Register it. I've just started writing absolute nonsense at that bit. So today was ground rhinoceros horn. I think you'll find that it's only keratin, Steve. It certainly can't do you harm. But it's what I call landmining the script. The idea being that I put something in there, maybe a thought passing through my head, or maybe something that's, just totally random.
Yeah.
But I make you say it, and you never trip up over them. I don't know how you do it.
I have to say, as I'm reading them, I suddenly get a sense of dread that ground rhinoceros horn. I was like thinking I should have Googled that before, because it's probably something very offensive.
No, it's not. There are apparently aphrodisiacal qualities to it, claimed by certain people. Rhinoceroses have actually, many of them have had their horns cut off to prevent poachers trying to hunt them, but actually it's only keratin, which is the substance of which human hair and fingernails are made. So, I don't just jot this stuff down, Steve. There's thought behind it.
Wow, Dr. Layton, I had no idea. So, to The Twist of a Knife by Anthony Horowitz. Wow.
Yes. The rules here at Audiobooks Club is that if the latest book has come out and one of us has read part of the series and the other one hasn't, the other one goes back to book 1. So I've read the latest book, The Twist of a Knife, and you have read the first book in the series, which is called The Word is Murder. Is that correct?
That is correct. And actually, I must say, just to pick you up on there, you did very slightly say Audiobooks Club, which is actually correct because you've read one, I've read another, and we'll pass over when you said Lotus instead of latest, because I thought you were about to say I read the Lotus notes on this book to get the storyline.
It gets to the point, doesn't it? When we start cheating on this, then we start trying to find shortcuts to get through.
This is Audio Lotus Notes Club, in which we just review praises of books we can't be bothered to listen to. Yes, that's right.
2-minute version.
That's it.
Good. Just to get us started, before we jump into our whole thing where we talk about the author, the book series, the book, the narration, etc., just an overview. Did you enjoy your time with The Word is Murder, the first book in the series?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did. And actually, this was, I sent you a text and I said that this is the first fiction book I've enjoyed in a very long time. And it was true. And it was the moment when he revealed himself, Anthony Horowitz, was actually in the book himself. Really good.
Yeah. And you know what? You think maybe that's not a gag that will last. But I'm on book 4 and it's still great. So let's do this properly. Let's start with the author. Anthony Horowitz, CBE, Commander of the British Empire, is the only person to have been asked by the Fleming estate to write a James Bond novel and by the Conan Doyle estate to write a Sherlock Holmes novel. So he's a good writer. He's done 3 James Bond novels and 2 Holmes novels, Moriarty and the House of Silk, all 5 of which are great. That's how I came to him. Other people know him for Foyle's War and the Alex Rider series of what we have to call young adult books, which follow the story. It's kind of like James Bond 90210, basically. It's James Bond for teenagers. Were you aware of those, Steve?
So I was only aware, to my shame, of Anthony Horowitz when he was in the news for being assigned a James Bond book and also a Sherlock Holmes book.
But you haven't read any of those?
I've not. No, I'm new to the Horowitz.
Okay, well, I think he's great, and he also wrote another couple of murder thrillers in between. So the series first, this is the 4th book in the series, and actually the 4th book in the series is a bit of a joke. So you've read The Word is Murder, the second one is A Sentence is Death, the third one is A Line to Kill. Here's the gag in a clip.
I don't find it easy writing books when I don't know the ending. I don't like walking 3 steps behind you like the murder mystery equivalent of the Duke of Edinburgh. I'm sorry, Hawthorne, but this hasn't been much fun for me. I've been stabbed twice. I've never come anywhere close to getting anything right, and even if I did want to continue, you haven't got any more cases for us to investigate together. Besides which, I made a mistake with the titles. You should have called the first one Hawthorne Investigates. That's not what I mean. I snatched one of the Kit Kats after all. I didn't want to eat it. I just wanted to spoil the pattern. It's the concept. It doesn't work. I'd decided that all the titles would have some sort of literary reference. After all, I was a writer, he was a detective. The word is murder, the sentence is death, a line to kill. It had seemed like a good idea at the time, but I'd already run out of grammatical allusions. Life comes to a full stop. It wouldn't make sense in America, where they have periods. The case of the missing colon. It would only work if a body part went missing from a morgue. No, even the titles were telling me that I'd agreed to a trilogy, and that was as far as it would go.
So The Twist of the Knife is the 4th book in the series. Now, Steve, I've got a new plan. So we're up to the minute here. This book was released last Thursday. So we've got our finger on the cultural pulse. I wanted to see if I could introduce a new feature to Audiobook Club.
You see, it's good.
Sorry, I quite like it.
I like it. I mean, it'll be different. It'll differentiate just by one letter to everyone else.
It's in the same way that I go to Westfields Innit when I want to go shopping.
That's it. Up Westfields. That's right. Up Asda's.
Audiobooks Club Innit. So I wondered if you might, because there's not enough of you in this, if you might take up reading the blurb for us. I've copy and pasted the blurb for you. Should we see how it goes?
Oh, so you just have. Yep, no worries. Oh, well, sight reading extravaganza here. Here we go then. Here is the blurb for The Twist of a Knife. I've written 3 books and our deal is over. That's what reluctant author Anthony Horowitz tells ex-detective Daniel Hawthorne in an awkward meeting. The truth is that Anthony has got other things on his mind. His new play, a thriller called Mind Game, is about to open at the famous Vaudeville Theatre in Shoreditch. Not surprisingly, Hawthorne declines a ticket to the opening night. The play is not enjoyed by the critics. In particular, Sunday Times critic Harriet Throsby gives it a savage review, focusing particularly on the writing. The next day, Throsby is stabbed in the heart with an ornamental dagger, which, it turns out, belongs to Anthony, and which has his fingerprints all over it. Anthony is arrested by an old enemy, Detective Inspector Cara Grunshaw. She's still smarting from her failure to solve the case described in the second Hawthorne adventure, The Sentence is Death. She blames Anthony for her failure, and now she's out for revenge. Thrown into prison and brutally interrogated, Anthony is the prime suspect in Throsby's murder, and as a second theatre critic is found to have died in mysterious circumstances, the net closes in. Ever more desperate, he realises that only one man can save him. But will Hawthorne take the call?
So from that introduction, you can get that actually Anthony Horowitz, the author, is one of the characters in the book. He's not the detective per se. He's kind of almost like a John Watson figure, a Hastings to his Poirot, if you see what I mean. It's really interesting, and it's a fictionalized version of himself. To get an idea of just how fictionalized, Anthony Horowitz did indeed write a play called Mind Game. It first came out in 2000, was indeed at the Vaudeville Theatre back then, and then was re-released about 2018 when this book is set, but staged at another theatre. So there's a blurring of what's real and what's not. So the detective in the book is actually quite hard to get a grasp on. He's called Hawthorne. Steve, what impression do you get of Hawthorne in book one? What do you know about him?
That he comes across as very by the book, like he's got an axe to grind. He obviously got let go by the Met Police under circumstances that I didn't get to the point where he divulged the circumstances as to why he got given the flick from the Met. He came across as literally like he's probably sitting on top of a powder keg of emotion, but either can't express it and doesn't want to express it. But one day during one of these books, all hell's going to break loose, it feels like.
Well, I'm on book 4 and all hell has not broken loose yet.
Book 5.
Possibly, I don't know. So this is part of the point. I find the character of Hawthorne difficult to grasp, and it's clear. So Horowitz, the character, clearly has difficulty getting a grasp on who Hawthorne is, on his history, and the physical descriptions of him are very bland. He's almost in some ways you just can't grasp him. He's not a simple character, and the character himself puts up boundaries. And as Horowitz, the character says, in order to write a book about somebody, and he's only writing these books because his publisher has hired him to do it. And in fact, Hawthorne tells Horowitz at some point during the series that he was actually his second choice of author for the gig. The relationship between the two is not... I find it hard to get a grip on what Hawthorne is and what drives him. You're right. There are some indicators that are straightforward. There's nothing... He doesn't have a physical disfigurement or an alcohol problem like physical disfigurement like being Belgian, for example, like Hercule Poirot. He doesn't have anything to make him stand out that you can grasp like that. In fact, I think Anthony Horowitz is the weird thing about it, and this is quite a weird literary point, is that the lead character in the book actually seems to be the fictional version of Anthony Horowitz, who I don't think is a particularly pleasant human being. I think he's a little bit precious, and I wouldn't want to share a flat with him, Steve.
See, I see Hawthorne as the lead character.
Okay.
So this is a bit of an interesting one. So I see Hawthorne as the lead character primarily because he comes, when we sort of see detective series these days or read detective books, the detective isn't just a detective solving a crime. He's got a whole bunch of problems, going on. Hawthorne is not like that, and he reminds me a lot, I guess, of Inspector Morse, because you didn't find out much about Inspector Morse, including his name. However, and this is going to really drag the memories here, by the way, folks, but so you have to be of a certain age, and also... Is this
going to be a Dempsey and Makepeace reference?
No, even more obscure. This is a Hale and Pace reference.
Oh, God.
So Hale and Pace, for our global listeners, if you're out there still, is they were a comedy duo in the UK. They were very successful, primetime, ITV of Sunday night.
They were like a modern day Cannon and Ball.
Yeah, little and large, basically. But they were very, very funny at the time, and they did a sketch sort of taking the rise out of Inspector Morse, and I think it was Gareth Hale, playing Inspector Morse, and because at the time no one knew Inspector Morse's name, so the sketch was called Inspector Morose, which is what I found Hawthorne to be, and they said, but tell us, what is your first name? Bloody. And Bloody Morose. So that's what I found Hawthorne to be, actually. So he comes across as Bloody Morose, but actually I think there are layers to it. There's a lot going on under here which you don't get to. It's not obvious, it's ambiguous at this stage, but I think as the series carries on, and if Anthony Horowitz is going to carry this series on, hopefully the layers will start peeling back on this guy. And, slowly, maybe like Inspector Morse, right in the last book, you'll find out, what he's really like, maybe, like his name. Except we know his name's Daniel Hawthorne, of course.
Yeah, Hawthorne solves the crime and is therefore the detective. But the narrator, the person whose emotional journey we follow, there isn't much of an emotional journey with Hawthorne. There aren't ups and downs. You don't feel for the character. You sometimes feel Anthony Horowitz's frustration with the character. But it's interesting that Anthony Horowitz, the character in the book, tearing his hair out at not being able to get Hawthorne to do what he wants, or to not understand who the murderer is, even though he apparently has lots of the information, as we all do in a whodunit. The idea is we're meant to put it together at the end and kick ourselves and go, of course it was that, because all the information was there in front of us anyway. I think for me, the character that I like most is the slightly petulant, somewhat precious, fictionalized Anthony Horowitz. I tell you what else is a character in both Book 1 and Book 4, I think, is London. As somebody who misses London, it's not very fashionable to be a Londoner these days. I remember you and I used to work at the Beeb, Steve, and we were always told, don't mention London. And, the BBC moved to Manchester in a desperate effort to get rid of their London-centric-ness. And we were genuinely told, don't mention any stories from London, weren't we?
Don't start with London, certainly.
Don't start with London. Okay, well, you, again, as discussed earlier, you were better than I was at the job.
Diplomacy.
Yeah.
We might one day end up back there unless they hear this.
But London was... And little bits of London, well, they remind me of home. So, I mean, particularly there's one bit where he's going to, in the current book, where he's going to his publishers, which are in a grotty street round the back of Victoria, as he puts it. I may be misquoting there, but I know exactly the sort of the surprisingly lifeless part of Victoria. It's just a stone's throw from the Houses of Parliament, and how that little bit of town is a bit dead, considering where it's situated. It's little things like that.
Yeah.
That amuse me. In the current book, quite a bit of it takes place in Maida Vale, which is, again, like all areas of London, has lots of different populations there, but lots of different people living there. But he mentions the canals and the big houses that are the postcard bit of Maida Vale. I really enjoyed the city in there as well.
I agree with you. The whole, I mean, you touch on actually quite a popular trope, isn't it? It's using London as a character, as a backdrop, because it creates the atmosphere of the book, as it does in Sherlock Holmes, as it does in Rivers of London as well, Ben Aronovich's series. It's a bit Thomas Hardy, actually, if I can invoke a little couple of centuries ago kind of literature, where Hardy would spend pages upon pages describing the grimness and the greyness of the moors, and you felt like what's the point in anything anymore by the time you get to page 17. But he was very, very vivid in that, until you were left in no uncertain terms the backdrop and the atmosphere of the story that's about to unfold.
It's interesting. The book certainly has an awareness of the heritage of whodunits and detective novels, doesn't it? You, without setting out to, have mentioned Inspector Morse and Sherlock Holmes already, because you can feel the DNA of those books in there. It's a worthy successor. As we're talking about the text of the book and what's written down there, I go, yeah, this is written by somebody who's as clever as Agatha Christie or the writers of Sherlock Holmes or Inspector Morse, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It's quality.
Yeah, he doesn't skim, does he?
Shall we do the narration / performance, Steve?
Yes. So what did you think of the narration / performance, man?
Well, I thought that Rory Kinnear, son of Roy Kinnear,
Legend.
second mention for the second week in a row. Didn't he die on the set of Gladiator, Roy Kinnear?
I think it was the Three Musketeers.
Was it? Okay.
I think it was an accident where he fell off a horse, I think.
Anyway, that's the second week in a row we've mentioned Rory Kinnear. Next week we'll mention Cannonball for the second week in a row.
As we discuss Roy Kinnear, a life.
And totally balls up any chance we have of getting Rory Kinnear on for an interview.
Indeed, yeah.
Rory Kinnear, actor of repute. A lot of times people read audiobooks. I would say that Rory Kinnear, and it's the highest compliment you get from this show, performs the audiobook. So he's basically playing the part of Anthony Horowitz. And as I say, the text, it's quite interesting the way Horowitz portrays himself, not necessarily in the most favourable light. And actually, there's a certain sneeriness to Rory Kinnear's voice, a little bit snivelling and precious sometimes, which I think is deliberate. And I end up liking Anthony Horowitz and understanding his point of view while also going, that's a bit much, mate. And I think Kinnear does that well. Most of the characters he plays well, and it's not scenery-chewing performance. I'd say Detective Grunshaw is not necessarily... I find that one... He hasn't quite got it. It's a bit over the top. It's a bit grating. But generally, he conveys the difference between the characters. He plays Hawthorne very well, but without over-egging it. And that makes a wonderful performance. Steve?
And like I say, well, he's the reason why I've said that it reminded me of the Bloody Morose sketch from Hale and Pace. Hawthorne comes across exactly as I suspect Horowitz wanted to write him. He is that character. So Rory Kinnear, in all the voices he does, it's a huge reason why I enjoyed the book. His narration is fantastic. He doesn't just read; he does perform. He nails those characters that I've listened to, obviously in book one, and actually one of the characters or two of the characters actually that I really got taken by was when in book one, The Word is Murder, when Hawthorne and Horowitz go to see the Godwin family and interview the mother of the child who was killed by Cooper. I had to turn the volume up slightly because he portrayed her as someone who's clearly traumatized still. He put that across very sensitively, I thought. And also her son as well, who'd obviously the surviving son from the car crash that had caused their deaths by the lady who got murdered.
The wonderful thing about my medication, Steve, is that I seem to have forgotten all of those bits that I've read 3 years ago. In my younger days, I could never read a book twice, but now you've made me want to go back and read it again because I can't remember the bits you're talking about.
It's a ripper.
Well, you wait till book 4. He plays somebody of Native American heritage and does a reasonable job at that as well.
I mean, Rory Kinnear is the man you want to narrate your murder mysteries, really, isn't it?
Well, no, you don't. He can't do any others now. This is peak Rory Kinnear, I would say.
He's handcuffed to Horowitz, essentially, isn't he?
Hooray! Yes.
Yeah.
Shall we sum up?
Yes, let's sum up.
It's blooming brilliant. The books are well written. The idea of having the author as himself in perhaps, as I say, semi-fictional version of the author himself in there is great. London comes across really well. The story's good. Nobody really cares who's done it. It's just an enjoyable journey. And I would give this one 2 big thumbs up, Steve.
I too. I mean, and thank you. Thank you again for gifting me The Word is Murder and introducing me to this world of Hawthorne and Horowitz. So I think it's, I've been gripped by book 1.
Cool. That's the general idea of what we do, isn't it?
Indeed. Absolutely. Everyone a gripper. So that's us. But if our listeners, if you want to play along, what should they be reading next, dude?
Okay, so the next couple of weeks are shaping up like this, Steve. So a double header next week. We are doing the book that you gifted me, the first audiobook I ever received. See last week's episode for details, audiobookclub.net. Miles Jupp's A Fibber in the Heat, a comedian's book about when he went to India and pretended to be a cricket journalist. And we also have Lee Mack's autobiography, Mack the Light. The following week, and you don't know about this yet, Steve.
What?
We're going to have a guest recommender.
Oh.
And it's a new concept, so it deserves a new word. Renowned musician, producer, sound engineer, and friend of the show. I know you hate.
Don't say that phrase. You put that in deliberately. Don't know. Oh, friend of the show. How can you be friend of essentially some airwaves or an MP3?
Shane Kendall. How would you describe?
Oh, Shane Kendall, friend of the show. No, it's Shane. Now it's Shane.
Shane, who he's a genius who sits in a studio in Australia editing together our videos whenever we get around to doing one, and helps me out and deputizes for me in my day job. Shane Kendall, he said to me the other day, he said, "Can I come on?" And I went, "Yeah, of course you can." And he will be...
Please come on.
He will be encouraging us to read NoFX, The Hepatitis Bathtub, and Other Stories by Jeff Alulis. And I'll find out how to pronounce that surname properly by the time we get there. But something that's definitely out of our comfort zone. It's a biography, a collection of stories about a punk band from the 1980s.
Oh, cool. Well, I look forward to seeing Shane, and, especially about the friend of the show. And as long if he's bringing his hepatitis bathtub with him, then that just extends the party. Really,
I love the way we are both clearly out of our comfort zone on this one, but somehow we still seem to be talking about white middle-aged men. But, you know, we'll try better in future.
Yep, we will. Every week. There you go. So that was The Twist of a Knife, written by Anthony Horowitz, performed, not read, by Rory Kinnear, published by Penguin Audio this year. Clocks in at 8 hours and 31 minutes. And just finally, we'd like to know what you're listening to. So just use the hashtag Audiobook Club on the socials, as they say now, and we'll pick it up and we'll start reading them out as well, because we will be gifting a book at some point. We started to we've really got to start gifting a book to someone who interacts with us, so we will have a look at social media. So just let us know what you're listening to, use the hashtag Audiobook Club, and we'll see you again next week.